Hi, you guys. This is Carol, and welcome to Human Physiology. Online still. So I wanted to start showing you some of the different books. So we use Human Physiology and Integrated Approach by D. Silverthorne. And these are some of the options. The latest version is the 8th edition, but really any of them, some of the older ones you'll pay less and they really would be fine. Some of the pages, when I tell you about the readings, will be slightly off. Maybe there'll be one page off, but you should be able to figure it out given the outlines that I give you. So using the text is really important, especially online. So please have that book. The diagrams are very crucial. In fact, I'm going to also be giving you some assignments. They're extra credit where you actually diagram out the diagrams because it's helpful to remember. There's some running problems, which are case studies, which we'll be using from the text. And there's questions always at the end of the chapter that are super helpful when you're learning all this, and especially online again, that you're learning it on your own more. So starting out, I'm very excited, and I really do want to welcome all of you. Starting out with an introduction to physio, a couple of questions come up. What kind of questions will we be asking? So I wanted to make that distinction. A physiological question, for example, is why a process happens. And that would be more teleological. Telos means end, and logos means reason. So we're thinking about the reason for something happening in physiology. So if I said to you, why do we see color? Right? What would you answer? What's an answer to that? So there's the why process and the how process. So think about that for a minute. The how is the mechanistic part of it. Is like, how do we see color? Well, we have these pigments in the eye, and light's going to break down the pigment. We're going to form an image in the back of the eye. That's how it happens. Why it happens is a completely different question. Why it happens? Well, it might be very important to distinguish something red before you eat it, because red often indicates poisonous. So it's very important for our survival evolutionarily to be able to see color and to be able to distinguish, as an example, a poison from not a poison. So that would be the why process. So in thinking about physiology, what we're going to be doing, which one of these are we going to be doing more of? Which is the one that we're thinking of and breaking apart and deciphering? It's the how. It's the how it happens. It's the mechanistic. So I've put it there for you. It's mechanistic and not teleological. Okay. I want you to start out, there's some videos that I want you to watch that are not mine, but they are posted there from YouTube. And one of them is a really fun TED Talk by Richard Resnick about the genomic revolution, about how we're thinking of genomes right now. So please watch that. In this slide, I have different fields of study, and right bang in the middle there is physio, right? We have physiology. And what does it encompass? What other fields does it encompass? Does it cover? So look at it. Will we be looking at chemistry? Yeah, a little chemistry here, atoms and molecules of how things function at the molecular level. So that encompasses the molecular biology and cells, how they behave. And we're going to be talking about ions and what potassium does and what sodium does. So all this is part of physiology, but at the same time, it also sort of overlaps with ecology of how this works for the survival of this organism and how it works interacting with other organisms. So there is a little bit of an overlap of that when you think of ecosystems. We really are not going to be going there. We're thinking more of the human organism and its organ systems. So that's where we will be. So these emerging concepts that are coming up in physio now have to do with the genome, because we know we get we know so much more now about DNA and what is being dictated by those genes in the DNA, in the cell, in the nucleus of the cell. So much so that a whole field has emerged called genomics, which is the research of physiology that really centers around the genome. And like that, other terms have cropped up like proteinomics, and that's the genomics, the genome of proteins, and metabolomics, it's hard to say these, and that is metabolism in relationship to the genome. There's even a journal called Genomics. So please watch that video and you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about then. When we look at the general themes in physiology, I'm going to give these to you. One, we're thinking about structure and function are closely related. Many of you, most of you have just finished anatomy. That's structure, what it does, what it looks like. And now we're going to talk much more about how does it work, which is fascinating. I love that. We're also going to talk about energy. How does it do it? How does it obtain that energy to be able to perform that function? We're also going to connect different systems. So number 3 here says information flow within and between cells of the body. Yeah, and the connection between something that's from the neural system, from the nervous system over to muscle, maybe. So physiology really crosses over these different systems, and we start figuring out how they work together. And then a very important theme is homeostasis. And I'm saying this for the first time and I'm smiling because we're going to hear it over and over again. So homeostasis is really the thread of physiology. It is the dynamic constancy of the internal environment. How we maintain an environment without a fever and without being chilled. How do we stay at that level? So it's dynamic because we don't stay exactly at that level. We fluctuate a little bit, but we're always trying to level it out when it comes to temperature, when it comes to blood sugar, when it comes to pH. So how the body maintains that internal environment at a pretty narrow constancy is probably the most important topic in physiology. So I have a lot more to say about homeostasis, and I'm going to start a second short video just on that topic of homeostasis. So for now, I'm going to stop this. See you soon.